and welcome to another Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is BryanCPSteele, and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. Hi, everybody. I am now. Last week we gave a quick overview of the two cons that I went to, kind of back to back. And I promised that this week we would talk a little bit more about one of the major events at Adepticon, specifically the Warzone Eternal Champions tournament, our annual tournament where everyone comes together, battles it out, and the victor gets to put any model or unit or a concept from the last 30 years of Mutant Chronicles stuff to put it in the design queue for Warzone Eternal. Now, generally speaking, we have told the winner or the winners to that their hope we'll do our damnedest to try and get the model finished, play tested, concepted, finished, sculpted, and ready for release by the following Adepticon. But by no means is that a hard and fast rule, especially depending on how complex the model is, whether it's a complex miniature to design, or if it is just the unit requires a lot of playtesting and polish. We don't want to promise people, we don't want to promise an Eternals winner, hey, it'll be there by next Adepticon, if and then just slam it out as fast as possible, and then end up putting something into the game that's not going to be balanced, that's not going to be, either useful or overpowered, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that it is that it fits into the Warzone Eternal kind of rubric to the best of its ability, and that we don't, rush the sculpt or, try and get something out the door. When you have a deadline like that, especially when there's other things already in the queue, sometimes that's a problem. That being said, Alex and I obviously will do our damnedest to make sure that everything is ready, and then we will get the model out as soon as possible. Hopefully, try and get it by the next Adepticon, but again, no real promises. The only real promise for the Eternals winner is that that model goes into the pre-production stages as soon as possible. What I wanted to do with this video is, because obviously I could run down the list and basically say, this guy did this, this guy did this, this guy did this. I think what I want to do is I'm just going to cover the scenarios, the scenario setup that is also what is going to be available when we get it ready for download. The Tournament Kit 2 that will eventually be on the website to download. I know I did pre-sales on a Tournament Kit specifically with like a patch and coins and everything for Tournament Kit 1. While I did not get patches made for the second Tournament Kit, I do still have coins available. If you are interested in coins for your tournaments or your events, please let me know. Email me, and that's brian@ursasden.com. But apart from that, I did want to go through and just basically tell you the scenarios that the Tournament Kit 2 contains, because that's what we used at the 2026 Eternals. My goal, knock on wood, is that Eternals kind of launches the new tournament season. Now, obviously, there is nothing stopping you from using Tournament Kit 1 forever. Those additional secondaries and stuff that are in that Tournament Kit. There's nothing that's that invalidates them or anything like that. Where if you're more comfortable with that, or honestly, if you end up with both tournament kits and you got all 6 scenarios, if you want to mix and match, that's up to you. I'm just letting you know what we have in the system. So before I get into the actual scenarios themselves, I did want to just real quick give you like the top the top 5 like players, armies, and like their placement. Obviously, so number 5 came in 5th place was Amira S. I almost just use their last name. I don't want to use the last names for everybody, just because, and I know some people are weird about being on the internets that way. So Amira S with her Imperial came in at 5th place. 4th place was Gray with his Mishima. 3rd place was Bryan with his Capital. And 2nd place, where we got here? 2nd place was David with Mishima. And 1st place was Zach with Algaroth. So I always find it interesting, just like kind of the general metrics of how this game works. Is if you go back and look at our first Warzone Eternals tournament, we had a hand, the lowdown of all the players that were there, the factions that were represented. We had like 7 or 8 Algaroth players. We had like 2 Cybertronic players, one of which came in as runner-up. We had a handful of Capital. We had a handful of Bauhaus. We had very few, if not, like, I want to say it was like maybe 1 or 2 Mishima last year out of the 27 people that signed up. And this year, Mishima was one of the most represented. And I will be honest, I was a little concerned, not worried, because we've balanced the game pretty well, but going into Adepticon, I originally I was hoping that a couple of the other factions would have received a couple more, at least one more, like, unit type expansion release or something between last Adepticon and this Adepticon. Well, as the things happen and choices are made and whatnot, the only 2 factions that received any kind of bonus was Cybertronic with the Dr. Diana, and Algaroth with the Immaculate Fury, and the Nasal, the Eternals champion figure from last year. And that we, Alex and I actually talked quite a bit, is we were a little concerned that it was going to just be an Algaroth, an Algaroth fest. And at this Eternals, weirdly enough, there were only 2 Algaroth players. We had 7 last year, and there were only 2 this time. And I'm not sure what that, I'm still trying to figure out the data on that, like what that actually means. If it means anything, it might not. It might just be that players chose to do other things, or Algaroth won last year, so I'll go ahead and switch it up because I want to get a different faction to win this year, or whatever. But it was one of those things that, seeing so many Imperial players and so many Mishima players come out, we had those were our 2 highest factions represented at Eternals this year. Those are 2 units or 2 factions that received no love whatsoever yet. They haven't received any new units. So effectively, the players who played with Mishima and Imperial at this Eternals, they have been playing with the same options that they have since the Kickstarter launch, since everything came out. So it was really cool to see 2 Mishima players place in the top 5 and an Imperial player, plus a Capital player. Obviously, Algaroth won in this case because Zach did end up squeaking out a win in the 3rd round. But I would like to say that it's very telling to the balance and the tactics and the general strategy behind us building this game, is the fact that there was such a shakeup and such a rumble of the different factions. Definitely different lists across the board. Like seeing, I'm loath to use the term because I don't like it, but I didn't see a lot of like net listing where someone found, this is the army that, X guy in Poland said worked the best at his tournament, and where they bring that out, and then suddenly, you see 5 or 6 of the same army. It was really cool. It was neat to see the different play styles and the different, definitely the different paint jobs. Jesse Carlisle. Oh, I guess that I did announce that. So Jesse won the best painted, but there were so many good paint jobs. We actually ended up doing 4 runner-ups because the judges. The painting judges, as we were sneaking around the tournament, peering at everybody's paint jobs and taking pictures and whatnot, none of us could really choose. We recognized that Jesse's was a standout. It was they were remarkably breathtaking models. Which is not surprising. Also, just as a side note, add this Adepticon. Congratulations to Jesse for also winning the top prize at the War Machine, the Steam Forged paint, the P3 paints at their contest for his War Machine model. So Jesse's a hell of a painter, and it absolutely showed. But there were so many good paint jobs, we couldn't decide on a runner-up, like a second place for that. So we actually just picked basically the four that we kept arguing about as to what was, what should be the order. And so we went ahead and just named them all 4 runners-up, and let them all take some prize support because their paint was awesome. All their paint jobs are gorgeous. And it does make me happy when I'm looking around, when I'm going around the table and seeing that they are, there are a lot of people that have put a lot of effort into their models, different conversions, different styles of paint job. It was really a hell of an event with a couple of really cool moments, obviously. The biggest one for me is going into the third round. I may have said this in a previous episode, but it still blows my socks off. Going into the third round, more often than not, you can kind of tell what table 1 and table 2 are. You sort of kind of look, you can see, okay, all 4 of those people won all of their matches. They all scored pretty high. And as a tournament judge, I get to look at these scores the whole time and kind of can tabulate everything as we go. And looking at that third round, there was a very distinct possibility that no one at table 1 was actually going to be the victor of the tournament, because if the scores would have been lower at their table, win or lose, or God's forbid a draw, the winner at table 2, if they scored enough points, would pop themselves up and over. So it was watching those front 2 tables. It was really kind of the, where is this going to go? Who's going to wear the mantle of Eternals? And Zach ended up squeaking it out. He had a really strong third game that stretched the distance. But the thing that got me, and the thing that made me go, I can't believe this happened, is the second table went completely scoreless. They scored not a single victory point, and so therefore it was a draw. It was a tie game. They only earned, so in a tournament scenario, and at least in the tournament kit, if you lose your game, you get 1 tournament point. If you tie your game, you get 3, and if you win your game, you get 5. And then the primary placement, like your primary place in line, is based off of your tournament points. Victory points is the tiebreaker. So going into that third round, everybody at those front 2 tables, and honestly, everybody at the top 3 tables, had all 3 victories, or had 2 victories going into that match, meaning they had 10 tournament points and then a handful of victory points based off of how they did in their previous games. meaning that first table, if one person wins, they end up with 15 tournament points, and then whatever their victory points are. Whoever wins at the second table is going to have 15 tournament points, and then however many victory points they have. And what ended up happening is that at table 2, since it was a draw, they only got three tournament points each, meaning that their total ended up only being 13, putting them below the winner at the third table, David, who had 15 tournament points, and bopped him up to second place. So put him as the runner-up to go on the trophy. It was weird. Like, I had to do the math a couple of times to make sure that I did it right, because I didn't want to cheat somebody out of their spot on the trophy. I mean, it was obvious that Zach had won. He had all 15, and he definitely had the most victory points. But it was I wanted to make sure that I got it right, because I wasn't about ready to put somebody's name on the trophy and it be invalidated. But it was crazy, and it was awesome, and it was a great time. And I always, it's exhausting. It's a lot of math and a lot of hurry up and do this. You've got 10 minutes to get this stuff tabulated before the next round has to start, because you got to do your best not to go over on time. You got to keep track of the clock. Let the players know, hey, you got 30 minutes. Hey, you got 5 minutes. Don't start a new turn. That kind of thing. And it was a lot of fun. I'm always drained afterwards, but I love getting to see so many people playing our game, enjoying our game. And for the most part, the community itself. Hang on, my voice is getting crackly. But for the most part, our player base, our community is really good. I think Alex and I probably answered, I'm going to say half a dozen rules questions over the course of all 3 rounds. And that is amazing. That means a lot, because generally speaking, you always end up with corner cases, or like when a game gets really competitive, you might have somebody who goes, hey, I want to call this line of sight a particular way. Can you come to the table as a judge and please say one way or the other? And while I would love for players to be able to decide these things themselves, especially in a competitive situation like a tournament, it is nice sometimes to have a third eye to swing over and go, nah, that's probably only light obstruction. Or, yeah, you can see him, but it's definitely heavy obstruction. And we really pride ourselves on, most of the questions are almost always really super weird corner cases, or things that maybe have come up in playtest and we know the answer, so it's easily answered, but it is something that maybe some players have not ever really dealt with. It is a testament to the tightness of the rules, which I don't want to pat myself on the back on that. A lot of that actually comes from Alex. Alex is very good at taking the wording of the rules that I designed and make them a little more airtight, so there's not any wiggle of, well, it might be this and it might be that. He's really, really good at that, and I am a better designer for having a fantastic co-designer here to help me out, to make sure that my stuff doesn't end up in weird loops or wiggle room cases and such, and things like that. Let's go ahead and get into the scenarios, because I know I want to try and keep this video a little shorter. Looking at some of the YouTube metrics, I know I try to keep all my videos to less than an hour, but the best ones, the ones that do the most engagement, the ones that get seen the most, are actually the ones below like 45 minutes. So I'm going to do my best to get through these scenarios, and then do the Week in Bryan, because I'll let you know the Week in Bryan, not too terribly exciting. All right, so round 1. is a corner deployment key positions scenario. So all of the primaries come out of the rulebook still, and the reason we do this is because those are the primary missions, the primary scenarios that are in the rulebook. We have played those and tested those for going on 5 years. We know that they're solid. We know that they work. We know that they do all of the things that you need them to do. But it's also, that is something that all players can prepare for, because obviously they've got the books. They don't have to go out and buy a tournament kit to be like, okay, I need to know these extra missions. While we may change that in the future and add new primary scenarios, it is very helpful for new players, because we had at this tournament, we actually had new players that had never played before. Well, only like 2. I think 2 people had never played before they came to Adepticon, and 1 had not played before he came to Eternals. It is easier for a player that knows these scenarios. It also helps with it to speed up play if these are scenarios that people have used before, played before, they know. Where we change this up is that we make sure that it's specific deployment zones and key positions. We set those. In this case, round 1 was corner deployment and key positions. And then the other thing that we do is we make all players pick a secondary pool for their force list. So they basically pick 5 secondaries out of the book, or as time goes on, out of the book, and also out of supplementary materials and the like. But it gives them, every match, they choose one of those to score, or to attempt to score, and then the other one is the secondary that is specifically for that round. Everybody gets that. And the reason we do that is because it allows us to throw some surprises in the tournament kit that people can't just always play for. It means that easier secondaries, what we would consider to be kind of the starter secondaries, like Hold Ground, or with an extremely fast, close combat-based army, if you end up being Servants of Darkness, send a message. These are... those are kind of, I don't mean like those are easy points, but that adds a layer of strategy as to when you get to use that. You know, I was talking about how victory points are so important to get you to those top tables, but let's say that you try your best to hold ground, to not use hold ground and save it for the third round, because if you get into the third round and you're on one of those top tables, those easy points might be a good idea to grab. But that's the reason why we don't let people just take them all the time. It's a pool. You get to use it once. In round 1, the extra secondary is called Oaths and Rights. So you are going to notice something as we go through these rounds, is these secondaries we tried to lean toward people building balanced forces. Not to be like, try to avoid spam, but it is more along the lines of, we've been saying from the very beginning that Warzone Eternal is a scenario-based game. And so if you just build your force to be a combat-heavy beat stick, and you do not take into consideration the fact that some scenarios might request you to do certain things, that's on you, and hopefully you will adapt. In this case, Oaths and Rights says that each force during setup places 1 scenario objective counter anywhere wholly within their opponent's deployment area and not within 6 inches of a previous placed scenario objective counter, or on, partially or completely, any terrain feature. Basically, it has to be on the ground floor, it has to be an open terrain, and it can't be within 6 inches of another scenario objective. This counter is 40 millimeter in diameter and treated as a terrain feature with the impassable. So it's a normal objective counter. Special for this secondary, a unit that is not engaged with an enemy unit and is in base-to-base contact with a scenario objective counter outside their force's deployment area, with no enemy units are also in base-to-base contact, they can perform an interact action. That interact action is a target number power test. It's the first time that we've specifically been like, all right, let's use that power stat. And on a success, the unit takes the proper oath or right. Victory points. In the end turn phase of any turn after the first in which a unit has successfully taken the proper oath or rite has not yet been removed from the battlefield as a casualty. So if they've done the thing, if they've done they successfully did the power test, and then they last until the end of the turn, so they don't get killed, that unit's force gains a victory point. If the unit is a leader, the force gains 2 victory points. And a force may not gain more than 2 victory points from the secondary objective. That's standard. You can never gain more than 2 points from any secondary objective. But it means that if you've got a leader, the leader can run out, touch one of those objective tokens, and do a power test. Bam, that's 2 victory points. You've scored it. It's good. Or you can have 2 regular guys go to different objectives and do the thing as well. So that is round 1. Round 2 uses the flank deployment and lead from the front scenario. The secondary, the bonus secondary for this one is called priority targets. Both forces, it's normal setup, but victory points in the end turn phase of any turn after the first in which a force has removed from the battlefield as a casualty at least one enemy unit with the leader designation. That force gains 1 victory point. If that unit was the enemy force's last remaining unit with the leader designation, the force gains 2 victory points. A force may not gain more than 2 victory points from the secondary objective. So basically, this one is it's a benefit because if you remember to take 2 or 3 leaders, it means your opponent can only score, they're going to score 1 if they kill one of your leaders, and they're going to score 1 if they kill all of your leaders. And so if you build a force with just the 1 leader, that's 1 model. They kill that guy and you get 2 victory points. If you build a force that's got 2 or 3 leaders in it, so it's a little more spread out, maybe different unit types, maybe just having a different, more leader command tray, command chain possibilities. That means that you've put more bodies on the field for your opponent to try and deal with before they can get that second victory point. And so that was the concept behind the priority targets mission or secondary, is we wanted to benefit people who bring extra leadership to their chain of command. Because a lot of times when someone builds their force, they go, okay, I want to bring as many trencher heavy machine guns as I can. So they go, all right, I need X number of support points. I'll take the minimum number of guys to get that leader. Or maybe it's not even support side of thing. Maybe they just really like a particular type of force. Like they love blood brays. So they take 1 blood bray leader to make the force legal, and then they just fill out the rest of the force with blood brays and blood bray medics and stuff. The reason why we did this is because we wanted people to see that there is a benefit for taking multiple leader models. And it's not just a box to be ticked when you create your force. Round 3, the final round, uses a standard deployment, and it uses breakthrough positions breakthrough as a scenario. I got my nose itches. The option or the secondary on this one is strategic supplies. During the deploy forces step of game setup, each force will play 2 secondary objective counters. The first immediately after placing their first unit on the battlefield. So like when you're setting up your army, you put your first model out and you go, okay, now I got to put my next objective out. And the second immediately after placing their last unit on the battlefield. So meaning that when you set up your forces, normally in Warzone Eternal, 1 player sets up his first half, the opponent sets up his entire force, and then the second player sets up their second half. The reason why this is important for the objectives, that means that if you do that, the way that this will go is the player who sets up his first half, as soon as he puts his first model down out of that first half, he then has to put his objective. He puts that down. He finishes the rest of his half. The opponent puts their whole army, meaning that they're going to put in the first model, objective, rest of the force, last model, objective, and then first player puts down his second half, last model, objective. Does that make sense? Okay. These objectives have to be wholly within 12 inches of the opposing force's side of the battlefield and not within 6 inches of a previous placed scenario objective. They can't be partially or completely on any terrain feature. All the other same placement rules. Special. While in base-to-base contact with a scenario objective within the enemy's half of the battlefield and not engaged with an enemy unit, a specialist or support designation unit may perform the following interact action. Interact, target number leadership test. On a success, the unit has stolen the supplies represented by that strategic objective counter, and it cannot be used for further strategic supplies interact actions. If the unit possesses any reload counters, remove them. So you actually get to kind of halfway bonus if you have again, trying to have people build balanced forces. If you have any specialists or support and they end up getting a reload, you could all take a turn to like just run over and hopefully go to one of these counters, do the thing, and not only does it get you closer to victory, but it also reloads the guy's weapons. Victory points. In the end turn phase of any turn after the first in which a unit has successfully stole the supplies has not yet been removed from the battlefield as a casualty, that unit's force gains 1 victory point. A force may not gain more than 2 victory points from the secondary objective. So basically, if you do get a chance to steal some supplies with one of these specialists or support units, and they live to the end of the round, you get a point. That's it. That's the 3 rounds that we did for Eternals, and I am very happy with how it turned out. Nobody had any like major complaints as far as like these scenarios are bunk. I don't like this secondary. This secondary sucks. I did have a few players that they did mention that if they, one of those, if I would have known, I would have taken extra support. I would have taken an extra leader. And that's kind of the point. That's kind of the point is we've always wanted Warzone Eternal to try and feel like a balanced scenario-based skirmish game. And if you go into a scenario blind, like at a tournament, you probably want to make sure that you've got as balanced and capable force as possible. So that's why these scenarios have, this time around, these secondaries have a lot to do with the designations of the models, because we wanted to try and create a situation where hopefully people will want to spread the love, take more stuff, take more varied stuff in their forces. So there we go. And that's Eternals. I mean, I hate to and that's a wrap, but it was a great time. The scenarios worked out well. Tournament Kit 2 will be available hopefully shortly for download on our websites. Like I said, contact me if you want more coins. I do still have some left, and it is going to be while supplies last because they were expensive. But yeah, I'm really excited. Zach1 has been he's been talking to us about what kind of choice he wants to have be his Eternal Champion winning figure. And I think Zach is trying to really. I think Zach's really trying to think outside the box. Similar to like how with the Nasal, he had an idea. The idea was to find something that has never been created before, and give us reason to shape this really amazing thing. I think he's going to find another good reason to choose something to help shape the future of Warzone Eternal one way or the other. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a ton of fun putting his decision into play. And for all of you out there who plan to come to Adepticon next year, we are looking at doing a daytime tournament instead of at night because it is far less exhausting. It is easier to set up, and Alex and I have some ideas to try and make it just collectively easier to do and manage. So overall, It was a great experience. Always is. I love Adepticon, and I love our community, and I love all the things that go with it. Seeing all of the faces that I only see at conventions, sometimes only once or twice a year, and seeing so many happy people competing for one of the cooler prizes in the wargaming industry. Yeah, just very happy with how it all came down, and I could not do it. We could not do it without the amazing fans, without the amazing community, and without the awesome people at Adepticon. It was amazing. So, if that's all you came for, you can go ahead and shut down now, because I got to do a quick week in Bryan. And sometimes I know some people don't care about what's going on with me. They just want to know the meat of the story. They just want to know about Adepticon. So, if that is goodbye for you, please like, share, subscribe, share to your friends. Tell them all about all the amazing things. Tell them about the comment raffle. Get them involved. And let's see if we can't grow this channel a little bit more and get these ideas and cool things out to more people. That being said, the week in Bryan. On a personal level, things are fine. I went to the doctor last week, so at Adepticon I did have a bit of a fall. Had a bit of a chunky guy moment. They're cheap plastic folding chairs that they give to the booth. One of them, I didn't sit down and it blew up. I was sitting. I had been sitting for a long time, and whatever was going on, the plastic gave out and it kind of shattered underneath me. I fell down. I cut my leg, banged my hip up pretty bad, and it hurt for a couple of days. Actually, it's been 2 weeks and it still kind of hurts. But I went to the doctor last week and found out that it was, in fact, I had not permanently hurt myself. It was just the signs of early onset arthritis in my hip and lumbar region. So I've got a bunch of medicine to help with that. I need to get a new mattress, that sort of thing. Money, but more importantly, no surgery. So big personal note on that. No surgery, and that's awesome. Hobby-wise, I have done nothing. I got a new hobby light from our dear friends at Game Envy, and I'm going to get that set up and give it a test, but probably not anytime soon because I have got a ton of work to do, which brings me directly into gaming-wise. I did a bunch of really good playtesting both for Warzone and Xeogenesis, plus had a amazing Wartoast session. Okay. Playtest session. The hell is Wartoast? Playtest session for Secret Project that should be named sometime this summer. And it went really well. Really well. And I went ahead and set up the first public game of that for hopefully Gamehole Con in October. It's not actually available yet, obviously, because I can't tell anybody. But when I do, I will let you guys know. As soon as the gag order comes off on that, and I can talk to you about it, rest assured, I absolutely will. And then work-wise, I don't think work has gone this smoothly in a while. I finished up all the monsters for Dungeon in a Box, and they do want me to do some spot writing for an adventure, which is that's awesome. It's not a lot of work, but it'll be fun work. The Intergalactic Heroes Throne World Saga guide is coming along swimmingly. I'm putting a lot of really good information, a lot of good work into that, and hopefully that will be ready to start going into editing and playtesting and stuff soon. Because obviously the goal is when we do the crowdfunding for the actual Intergalactic Heroes Player's Guide, that things like the Throne World Saga and Valerian, some of the offshoot games, we can start advertising or maybe stretch goal them or something like that. And then my other primary thing that I'm working on right now, apart from all the wargaming stuff, is trying to get that Shadowrun novel done. That is one of the chief things for me this month, is to get it done and off to the editors. Not only for the paycheck and obligation, but because I'm inspired to do that, having talked to several of the people involved, talking to the editor, talking to just kind of some Shadowrun folks. It's really kind of lit a fire under me, so I'm excited to get that finished up and off to editing as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been pretty hectic going into this. I'm glad I have all of April and most of May home to work on things. I do have MomoCon in May, but more on that in the future. We'll talk about that when my schedule there gets a little more solidified. Yeah. So yeah, Weekend Bryan, not terribly exciting, other than going to the doctor and figuring out I don't need to have surgery. That's good. But yeah, no, it's been a good week, a productive week, and hope that continues on into the weekend. So, without further ado, please be safe, wash your hands, get your shots, wear a mask, do all the things that will help maintain this weird world that we live in, and just try to be a little friendly person and make every room a little happier than when you got there. And I think we'll be okay. So we will see you next week. Have fun, play some games, because I will. Bye, guys.